Reaching more than 4,000 meters above sea level, a group of railway workers keeps alive one of the most difficult and spectacular routes in South America. The C14 line, an Argentine freight train, is one of the highest railway lines in the world. The train departs from the city of Salta and reaches Socompa, on the border with Chile, covering more than 500 kilometers across the Andes Mountains. Throughout the journey, we follow the railway workers who keep this historic line in operation. They drive the locomotives, face the extreme conditions of altitude more than 4,400 meters, and keep alive a route that also crosses the famous La Polvorilla viaduct, known for the train to the clouds. Along the way, the workers share their experiences, their daily routines, and also the difficult moments, like the memory of a landslide that took the lives of several colleagues. Between stops to collect water, cook, or leave offerings by the tracks, we see the other side of the train to the clouds, the side of work, history, and the effort behind every journey. The story of the C14 line begins in the 1920s, when American engineer Richard Maury was appointed to lead an ambitious project to build a railway connecting Salta in northern Argentina with the Chilean border. Maury designed a layout that was innovative for its time. Instead of using rack systems, common in mountain railways, he created a route with gentle slopes, zigzags, and spiral sections that allowed the train to gain altitude gradually. In 1948, the train completed its first full journey to Socompa, marking the definitive connection between Argentina and Chile across the Andes. Over time, part of the route became a tourist attraction under the name Train to the Clouds, which runs up to the La Polvorilla viaduct. But the original line continues beyond that point. It's the same one used today by freight trains and the workers who keep this historic railway alive, crossing one of the harshest and most breathtaking landscapes in the country.
Estamos por salir de Salta con el tren 1701 destino Socompa, en el cual tenemos que recorrer más de 500 kilómetros por la cordillera de los Andes.
A railway like the C14 needs constant attention. The tracks, tunnels, and bridges were built nearly a century ago and require maintenance to keep running. That's why the railway workers we see on this journey are essential to its survival. Their task is to inspect the most exposed sections, secure the rails, and keep freight operations moving. Although the line still belongs to the state and retains its original structure, its daily operation depends on technical skill and knowledge passed down through generations. Every kilometer of track is inspected, every locomotive checked before climbing the mountains. In these extreme conditions, safety depends on the experience and coordination of those who live the railway from within.
Nos encontramos detenidos en el kilómetro 1299, ramal C14, provincia de Salta, más conocido lugar como La Bomba. Acá se tomaba agua en la época de vapor. En estos momentos están bajando el cemento para arreglar la parte interna del túnel 17, que se encuentra deteriorado a través de tantos años. Entonces se baja el cemento acá y los áridos dentro del túnel. Acá se lo deja por seguridad, a los efectos de que ese túnel no se deteriore más y se pueda circular con mucha seguridad por el ramal.
But the C14 is not just history or tourism. It is also a vital economic route for northern Argentina. Along this line, trains carry minerals from the Puna, such as lithium, borates, and salt, toward the country's industrial centers and Atlantic ports. It is the same vision that inspired Richard Maury a century ago, connecting the productive heart of the Andes with the rest of the world. The train approaches one of the most iconic points of the route, the La Polvorilla viaduct.
Estamos en el viaducto
viaducto La Polvorilla, ícono del ramal C14, fue construida por el ingeniero Maury.
This steel structure, built between 1930 and 1932, stretches 224 meters long and rises 63 meters above the ground at more than 4,200 meters above sea level. It is part of the C14 line and is considered one of the most remarkable railway engineering works in South America. For many, this is the final stop of the train to the clouds, the tourist route that runs up from the city of Salta. But the freight trains, like the one these workers operate, continue beyond toward the Chilean border through the toughest and loneliest part of the line. But that difference defines two worlds along the same tracks, the world of tourism and the world of daily labor that keeps the line alive. As the train climbs higher, the landscape becomes drier and the air thinner. In this stretch, the line reaches its highest point, 4,475 meters above sea level. At that altitude, atmospheric pressure drops by nearly 40% and the body feels it.
Estamos en Abra Chorrillo, este es el punto más alto del ramal C14. En el lugar algunos compañeros sufren dolor de cabeza, mareo, vómito por la altura del lugar. Está a 4.475 metros sobre el nivel del mar.
Lack of oxygen can cause dizziness, fatigue, and headaches, common symptoms among the workers who travel these rails regularly. It is an extreme environment where every task, from checking a brake to walking the tracks, demands more effort. Here, railway work depends not only on the machine, but also on the endurance of those who drive it. The train slowly moves away from Toller Grande, the last significant settlement along this section of the C14 line, before entering the desert stretch toward Cape and Socompa.
Acabamos de salir de Toller Grande. Toller Grande es el último pueblo grande que encontramos yendo a Socompa. Es un pueblo que se ha creado en base al ferrocarril, netamente ferroviario.
Located at about 3,500 meters above sea level, Toller Grande was born and grew around the railway and the nearby mining activity. At its peak in the mid-20th century, it had around 5,000 inhabitants. Today, according to the 2022 census, only 321 people remain. This contrast shows the demographic change in the region and the impact of losing railway activity in the area.
Aquí nos encontramos en el Salar de Alizaro.
The train makes a short stop at KB Station, located in the middle of the Arizaro salt flat in the Salta Highlands. At about 3,900 meters above sea level, the landscape here is almost lifeless, with extreme temperature shifts between day and night. Caipe is one of the last active stations before the border. It has no permanent residents, only a few railway buildings and a small shelter used by the workers.
Bueno, acá nos encontramos en la estación Caipe. Lo que estábamos haciendo acá es aprovechando de que acá tenemos una hermosa agua que sale de las vertientes, la cual aprovechamos y cargamos nuestros vagones vivienda, los tanques que tenemos ahí arriba, que son de abastecimiento, que nos sirve tanto para lavar los platos, para bañarnos, etcétera, todo lo que necesitamos acá. Y aparte para mantener el fuego, porque acá con el frío que hace necesitamos mantener la cocina prendida para calefaccionar la vivienda. Y si no hay agua, se nos funden todos los fierros, así que el agua necesita del fuego y el fuego necesita del agua, digamos acá.
Here, water supply becomes essential. The railwaymen use a natural spring nearby to collect water for cleaning, washing, and keeping the train running in this harsh environment.
¿Qué estaba por comer?
Vamos por hacer salsa con fideo.
Qué grande.
Eso, como menú de hoy.
Comida de cordillera.
Comida de cordillera.
Muy bien.
The train moves through one of the most dangerous areas of the line. The tracks cling to cliffs and unstable slopes where landslides are a constant threat. In this section, years ago, an accident left a deep mark. A collapse dragged several wagons and a locomotive into the ravine. 3 workers lost their lives.
El
accidente ocurrido en el kilómetro 1679 de C14, un lugar emblemático, un lugar donde es muy triste y donde cada vez que pasamos es inexplicable para nosotros. Los compañeros tocan la bocina para saludar, porque fue muy triste la pérdida de 3 compañeros ferroviarios que murieron allí, y la verdad que pone la piel de gallina el solo hecho de pasar por ahí y ver lo que pasó ahí.
It's a simple yet powerful gesture to remember their colleagues and keep their memory alive. Here, in the heart of the Andes, the train carries more than freight. It carries stories, memories, and lives. For those who work at these altitudes, danger is part of the job. One of the machinists sums it up clearly.
Esta situación es habitual acá en la cordillera, la caída de piedra hacia la vía se constituye un factor de riesgo, así que por lo tanto nosotros vamos parando el tren constantemente, vamos sacando piedras, todo lo que haya en el camino. El tema es continuar viaje y que llegamos a domicilio, que lleguemos todos bien a Salta.
On every journey, responsibility and respect for the mountain travel alongside the men who cross it on rails.
Bueno, aquí estamos pasando la estación de Quebrada del Agua, del kilómetro 1683, estación ferroviaria que dejó de funcionar hace varios años.
After several days of travel, the train finally reaches Socompa, on the border with Chile. At more than 3,800 meters in altitude, the landscape is barren and silent. Here ends the C14 line, a railway that crosses the Andes, and almost a century after its construction, remains active thanks to the dedication of its workers. With the formation stopped, the men gather in the living car, the wagon that serves as their home during the journey.
Tiene asadito cordillerano. Acá con un muchacho. Gregorio.
Socompa.
Muchacho ahí.
Ya está lista la rusa.
Ya está listo el sur.
Rusa, ensaladita.
Ahí están los huevitos.
La full.
El asadito con morcillito.
The train reaches the end of the C14 line. Behind lie 500 kilometers of mountains, wind, and silence, a journey carved through the Andes. For these men, nothing here comes easy. The cold, the altitude, and the risk are part of the job. But so are pride, companionship, and the passion that keeps the rails alive. The C14 is not a relic. It's a living line carried forward by those who cross it day after day. And as the train rests in Socompa before returning to Salta, its horn still echoes through the mountains, proof that the railway spirit never stops. It simply keeps moving on.